I absolutely loved Richmond, north of Richmond, and was excited to see an Easter Day release of Oliver Anthony's debut, Hymnal for a Troubled Man's Mind. And I'm glad that I had a happy Easter with family, because gosh darn it, if I had had a sad day and listened to this album, I don't think I could have handled it. How Sad is Oliver Anthony's first full-length album? Let's review. Before talking about the songs, I do have one really negative gripe about this album, and it's that Oliver is reading Bible verses deadpan on 8 tracks throughout the track list, almost in between every song. And kudos to Oliver Anthony to find the saddest 8 Bible verses imaginable, because this album is all hell and brimstone and heartbreak and fire, Christianity suffering, and burning in hell. I appreciate the Bible verses being there, and the fact that Anthony is really trying to make his performances and his studio work something more than the music. But words and music, like lyrics and music, can do the magic that you're looking for without nonstop interruptions between songs. The in between every track, it really pulls me out of this emotionally deep album that I want to be swept up in, and that is a really big problem. I think that I will definitely build a playlist of this album to better enjoy the music. Rich Man's Gold brings the brimstone, rapping in a Hank Williams Jr. vocal style and that rustic guitar and bass that's simple, dark, and bleak as hell. Doggone It paints a grisly yet beautiful picture with vibrant brushstrokes of the vocal cord and sadly relatable to a lot of us, relatable to me, and tragic in the same breath. I've Got to Get Sober is a highlight of this album. It drags us down to the depths of death and never lets up as Oliver tries and fails to get sober, as many of us do, drowning in the sorrow. The strongest of the earlier tracks of Hymnal. I think I'm gonna cry just reviewing this album. It's extremely rough. It's extremely emotionally charged in a lot of ways. Cobwebs and Cocaine cranks up some electric guitar in the mix, as this album seems to be digging its own grave in the ground at the witching hour in a torrential lightning storm of woes and sorrows raining down on you like carcasses being fed to the vultures. How low can you possibly bring music, like in terms of like blues and sadness? Cobwebs goes down to the well of disaster and it goes so far down that you might not want to be there. You might not want to emotionally even go there if you're not mentally prepared for a journey of like terrifying heartbreak. This is emo music. This is blues and rock and country and emotional distress. And as Cobwebs spoke of hell, as most of the songs do, the next song is called Hell on Earth, introduced with yet another Bible verse, and oh boy, it starts off pretty upbeat this time. Don't worry about the wars and the enemies. All that stuff is a natural part of life, but that it ends with something I mentioned a while ago: wherever there is a carcass, that's where the vultures will gather. It's a really awesome thing that he's injecting biblical ideas into the record itself, but he's pulling from, it's like I said, it's all fire and brimstone. There's no Christian positivity anywhere in this thing. It's Christian negativity. It's all about death and hell and dying and sorrow, and everything is horrible, and everybody's terrible, and the vultures will eat your dead body when you're gone. I Want to Go Home is about being lost, angry at the world, being angry at people, angry at the TV set made by the people you're angry at. Oliver is angry about corporations knocking down trees. He's hopelessly, chillingly destroyed over these things, and he wants to escape. And there is a little sliver of hope in I Want to Go Home. In the despair, he's like the only thing he has, the only hope that he has is the good Lord and his dog. Because nothing else, like, so I guess in this world, in the physical world, his dog is the only thing keeping him from just not being here anymore. It's also, those are, Jesus and the dog are also the only two things keeping him from being strung up in a psych ward. Because that's also a negative avenue we've got to explore in this album. Feeling Pretty Good. It's called Feeling Pretty Good. Is it a positive song? No. He's singing the blues about having thoughts about himself as he struggles with anxiety, depression, existential crises. He's overworked. He can't pay bills. He's trapped. He's angry. But he does have a pretty woman that's coming to join him and his dog, presumably. And even though he's going through about 13 or 14 ways from Sunday and a dozen crises, I guess the gal pal of his is going to make him feel all right. She's like, I've been the engine driver. The Who reference. There's some soul-wrenching pain and turmoil on this 3 out of 5 album that closes with a haunting and fiddling on Mama's Been Hurting. I'm going to make a playlist, like I said, of just the songs. If you don't have time to hear 10 tales of miserable, rotting in the armpit swamp of hell on a farm in the depths of an even worse hell on earth and crying your eyes out for 40 minutes, which you do have time for, by the way. If you're a musical cheapskate and only want the best of what's here on this horrific tragedy of a man suffering in the woods, every misery possible falls upon him. He's like Job. Just, it seems like God is constantly punishing Oliver Anthony. Or not punishing, but just giving him every kind of test that there can be. Check out, if you're a musical cheapskate, check out I've Got to Get Sober, I Want to Go Home, Feeling Pretty Good, VCR Kid, and Mama's Been Hurting. But, listener, be warned. Do not listen to this if you are emotionally having major issues. Usually for me, listening to sad music helps me and gets me through things, and this album does that. This album does help you kind of like, okay, maybe he's going through some of the same things, but it is just damningly depressing and just crushingly sad. So it's not necessarily like, oh, I listen to this and feel better. It's like, I listen to this, I'm going to process it, I'm going to think about what he's saying. So it's smart, it's kind of deeper than you would think. But I would seriously, if you are having depression in a significant way, I would listen to this carefully. Maybe not listen to it all in one go. Just kind of maybe put them in a playlist with some other things, because like I said, usually I feel better with sad music or angry music. But this is something entirely else. It's literally like the blues. It's got a lot of blues influence, and it's just a different side of Christianity that you don't hear in music a lot, where it's, it's not the good times. It's the fire and brimstone. Most people are going to hell. Everybody sucks. Nobody's good enough. It's that side of Christianity. It's a harsh look at it, but it's really great, and it's really artistic. The music's great. He really did kind of, there is a band, but it very much sounds like what you've heard from Oliver Anthony before. And yeah, like I said, if you're not really having really bad emotional problems, check it out. Check it out. It's a very different, very interesting album, and I hope you like it. Leave a comment about what you think about it, how it made you feel, how many times did you cry. Put that in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next, hopefully more upbeat album review or music news. Thank you.